I'm so glad to be here. Good morning, everybody. So, one of the concepts we've been talking about in radical acceptance is the middle way. And I have some stuff that I want to share you via information, but I also have a story I want to share. So, one of his students asked Buddha, "Are you the Messiah?" "No," answered Buddha. "Then are you a healer?" "No," Buddha replied. "Then are you a teacher?" the student persisted. "No, I am not a teacher." "Then what are you?" asked the student, exasperated. "I am awake," Buddha replied. Wake up. The light is bright and the voice is strong. However, we find many ways to not acknowledge that which we know, which is that we are not fully awake, that we are in a slumber, often sleepwalking through this part of our journey. Oh, it may feel like we are fully awake and engaged by the amount of activity we are engaged in. However, although activity notates being awake, activity in and of itself does not mean that we are awakened. As a matter of fact, activity busyness is often a smokescreen which makes us feel as though we are awake. However, it often masks that we are still in a very deep slumber. We can't relate to that, can we? Being spiritual and all, we're all awake, right? It's interesting because I've dealt with this in other places that I've practiced in and other churches we've gone to, and it's true even in the churches themselves or in the spiritual aspect. I'm not speaking for anybody else but me. I was hungry, so hungry in the beginning of learning and being in that place that I read everything I could get my hands on. I did everything I possibly could for workshops and studies. I wanted to know it all. I wanted to understand every bit of what was out there for me to get. And yet I plateaued at one point and I was not doing anything. I thought I was doing something. I was practicing, right? I learned some good stuff, but putting it into action is a whole nother story, right? Yeah. So the big thing about it is in the middle way, if you're living in what Buddha calls the middle way, it can take many different forms. Not surprising when the many strands of Buddha Dharma are taken into account, along with the many types of people there are. But all are ultimately intent on its original and continuous objective, which is nirvana. Wouldn't that be wonderful? To be in nirvana constantly. I don't even know if I could handle it, if I think about it. To cultivate a moral lifestyle hand in hand with the mindful meditative practice is to walk the middle way, which gives vision and understanding, as the Buddha put it. This vision is to see things as they are rather than as we think or want them to be. And this understanding is the knowledge that in the things of the world there is no salvation or enlightenment. Awakening to the silent wisdom within is to experience the calm mind that penetrates to the core of our being, which is the Buddha. Wouldn't y'all like to be a Buddha? Okay, so here's the story. I know I shared this when we had the prayers team do the talk, but I went to Thailand for 6 weeks. In my studies of the interfaith process, I was told to go out in the community, find the religion I was working on in the moment, and just delve into it and have them teach me everything they know. So I find this Buddhist temple in Arlington, and I show up, and I think I told you, I went, "I'm here," and they all kind of stood there and stared at me, and all in silence. Of course, I was all over the place, getting excited and giddy. But there was this one teacher I had. His name was Long Pi Payun Sak, and he was intense, and it was all about meditation. Everything's about meditation. It has to be meditation. That's the middle way. When you can sit in a space like you are right now, with your brain not going on and on and on. Some of you are listening to this instead of me, and I understand that. That's the way life is. But when you learn well enough to meditate, to center yourself, to be in the middle way, you are able to sit in a space nirvana-ish, if that's even a word. So they come to me one day and they say, how would you like to go to Thailand? And I said, sure. Well, they paid for everything. 16 hours on a flight to Japan, 3-hour layover in Japan, 6 hours to Thailand. And by the time we got there, I couldn't stand up, and I was throwing up, y'all. I was so sick from sitting there forever. So anyway, we went to a condo. They left me by myself. The group that picked me up, they put me in a room by myself because the monk believed I needed to be alone. He used to, oh, Janet, your head goes too crazy. You need to be alone. So they stick me in a condo by myself in a place where I do not speak the language. And I had a headache to beat the band. So in the little area of the temple in Arlington, if you said, do you know where Picheri is? Everybody would go get Picheri. But I'm in Thailand now, in the parking lot of a condo, asking Picheri, and nobody knew what I was talking about. So it was a tough time. But once the morning came and we got together and we finally ate and we got situated and everything, I finally calmed down. What I didn't know I was in store for. You guys, they took everything from us. I had 2 suitcases. They took my phone, they took my iPad, they took my clothes, they took my everything. And I was left with a little square box about that big with my basic necessities. Now, talk about having some meltdowns, I had a few. The beauty of it is there are 14 women together. And ladies, you might know what I'm talking about. I've gone to spiritual retreats in different places, and there's that nitpicking going on. Even though we're at a spiritual retreat, we women can be a little savage sometimes. But when we were there, the 14 women, none of us spoke the same language, but when one of us was having a meltdown or there was something going on, they all came together. And they didn't even have to speak the same language. We took care of each other. And that was a turning point for me. So if you get into what the middle way is about. The middle way is not only the recommended manner of living given us by the Buddha, it is also the realization that beyond these limited, erroneous egos and puffed up personalities, we are the Buddha. To truly walk the middle way is to traverse this world in the knowledge that we are already enlightened. Already enlightened. We all are already enlightened. Yes? Yes. Thank you. We are. The question is are you being that enlightening? Are you being in the moment, every moment that you possibly can? Are you awake and aware of that enlightenment? We just have to enlighten ourselves to the fact. Openly reflecting on the way is to share with all sentient beings this wondrous hidden truth, helping us to let go a little of our greed, hatred, and delusion, the 3 poisons that tie us to a life of suffering. For as the Buddha so wisely taught all those centuries ago, it is in the walking of the middle way that one discovers nirvana, releasing the pain and anguish of the ego into the serenity of our Buddha nature. Does that make sense? Are we awake? Yes. So, there are some descriptions about the middle way and its fundamental principles, and I share this with you because a lot of times with the middle way and the understanding of it, it's an interesting concept. So in the middle way, and actually the radical acceptance that we're working on Wednesdays, they align in principle. So avoiding extremes. Anybody go to extremes here? Not me. Just as the middle way encourages avoiding extremes of pleasure and pain, radical acceptance promotes acknowledging reality without getting stuck in the extremes of denial or intense negative emotions. Balance and moderation. The middle way emphasizes finding balance and moderation in all aspects of life. And we talk about that in our teachings, just in a different way. But it's that balance and moderation of anything and everything we do. Yes? Yes. We don't want to go to the extreme on either end. Just find that happy medium, that middle line. I mean, if we could stay right there constantly, we'd be in nirvana. We'd be able to feel and do at the same time when the head and the heart are connected. So radical acceptance helps achieve a balance between accepting what cannot be changed and taking action to improve what can. And then we have what they call non-attachment. Can't relate to that one either, huh? Whoa. I'm telling you, when I was working on this, I had to work on me again. Both concepts encourage a form of non-attachment, whether to material possessions and desires in the middle way or to painful emotions and situations in radical acceptance. No matter what is going on, painful emotions or, glee, if you stay in the middle way, you don't overreact. Now, there are times for me, I know, I get giddy. I get so excited. I was telling somebody this morning, I'm going to London in July, and it's not, I'm going to London in July, it's going to be fun. I'm going to London in July. I mean, it's hard not to get giddy. And yet at the same time, I know it's good. And I want to be in that middle way at the time. Mindfulness, the practice of observing thoughts and feelings without judgment, is an important part of both practices. So it's all about that light that's within each and every one of us. It's about us waking up to the fact that we do have the ability to be in that space constantly if we're awake long enough to be able to live it. Yes? So here's one of the things I had to go through while I was in Thailand. So we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning. We meditated till 6:30. I slept a little, but anyway. 6:30, and then we had to serve the Buddhists their breakfast. They ate before we did. It was an absolute. So we served them breakfast. You guys got it. Women can't touch monks, so we would have to kneel and lay a cloth on the table and put the food on the cloth, and they'd pull it towards them, and they would bless us, and then we had to go about our business. It was fascinating. So anyway, we'd serve them breakfast, we would eat, and then for half the day we had chores. Now my chore was washing the 14 women's clothing and drying them and folding them and placing them on their beds for the next day. There was one washer, a tiny little one with a basket, and no dryer. I had to hang the clothes, which I've never done in my life. Had to hang the clothes. They show you how to fold them and lay them on the bed. Mindfully and staying in the middle way while you're doing that in the heat and the humidity of Thailand. Now, I slept on a wooden board. I had a brick for a pillow, no air conditioning. I wasn't doing well, you guys. I was not doing well. If I don't get enough sleep, I'm a little cranky. So I ended up having a few meltdowns. I want to call Lynn. I need to talk to Lynn. And they'd nod their heads and say, go meditate. And I did. And I was okay for maybe 30 minutes. And then it was, I want to call Lynn. But what was so sweet, there was this one lady from China, and she really, we connected, even though we couldn't speak the same language. And I remember we got to Chiang Mai from Bangkok, and it's foggy and hazy, and I'm sitting on this step, and I'm weeping. I mean, I'm weeping. And this lady comes over, and she throws her arm around me, and she says, where's my Janet? And I said, she's not here right now. And finally, after she sat with me and patted my back and held my hand, and then the fog dissipated, and there were 7 mountains we were staring at that I didn't even know existed there. I mean, I finally woke up. It was a way of waking up to the fact that I'm not awake, right? I wasn't awake at all. I was too busy struggling with the changes and the fact that I couldn't have my phone and I couldn't connect with my husband, that I wasn't even awake on a trip of the ultimate. So after that, I finally realized what was going on. So we gathered, there were 19 of us, five men showed up, and 14 women. And at the last part of the week, after we had practiced all week long, and it truly was an adventure. I mean, we did a lot of stuff. We traveled around, and they took us on a tour of Buddha's life, where he started, where he ended up, and what happened in between, the different temples that he went to, and every step of the way, they constantly talked about the middle way, that fine line, that very fine line of where we could be on a daily basis if we stayed awake long enough to be able to remember what it is that we really want to do and how we really want to be. Thank you. So, it's fascinating, though. The trip was awesome, and at the end of the week, the end of the 6 weeks, they wanted us to try and sit as long as we could, and I think I shared this with you before. Some of the people were able to sit for 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours of meditation. Oh, my Lord. So at one point, I was sitting there, and I was doing great, and then all of a sudden I sunk down, and my head was on the back of the chair that I was sitting in, and a monk came up and says, "We do not do this in front of the monks. It's disrespectful." I had fallen asleep, so I had to start over again. So my 4 hours I had done had to begin back at hour 1. And I ended up sitting for 6 hours, and that was the miracle. That is when I really understood what the middle way was. And I love this piece when the student asked the Buddha, "Are you a Messiah? Are you a healer? Are you a teacher?" And he says, "No, I'm just awake." And if you look at society today, how many do you think are awake out there in this world? No. It's up to us, those of us that are awake, that want to be awake, that know how to be awake. It's up to us to take that out there and teach them. And if we're not staying awake, then we're all in trouble, aren't we? Yeah. So, and it's not just about meditation. It's about being able to be in a situation, no matter what it is, and not get caught up in the emotion and the feeling of it, but to be able to be, and you know, I always hear, "Oh, quit being so childlike." It's not that. It's not like you're an adult and you should know better. It's about being in that space, fully present in the head and the heart, right? And that's that 18-inch drop we talk about. It's the hardest drop to do, or connection. But when the head and the heart is in the same space, it's amazing. It's magical. And we can be there constantly. So, here we go. I'm going somewhere with this. So the middle way is a lot like, how would you put that? Prayer and meditation is important. I know for me, out on our patio at the house, we have this, I have a swinging chair where I can sit and swing in it, and I'm looking at the most unbelievable wisteria bush hanging over our shed in the backyard. And then we have these beautiful yellow flowers that are blooming right now. And it's so green from the rain and everything. And sometimes I find myself in that chair and I'm not seeing any of that. And then all of a sudden, it's almost truly amazing. All of a sudden, this layer comes off and I wake up and I see the beauty that I have in my backyard. I see the beauty that I have all around us. Our neighborhood, our community, the cities, whatever. Even if it looks a little desolate, especially with what's going on today, you guys. Wake up to the beauty of what's around you and what's in your heart. And don't get caught up in the nitpicking stuff that's going on. We're needed. We are needed today. And that doesn't mean to have discussions about what, who's doing to what, but about being in that space of love and understanding and that middle way to understand who you are and how you want to show up in the world. So, on that note, happy people build their inner world. Unhappy people blame their outer world. So just take that to your heart, and I thank you. So now, so if you would uncross your legs and clear your laps and put your feet, take a deep breath and come back to this space. Because some of you just went somewhere else. Take a deep breath. Hold it for a second and then release it. If you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do so. And if there's a special place that you like to go to, please go there. Or just be with whatever's going on. And in this moment, feel that connection in the middle way, where your heart and your head are connected, where you are truly awake to your truth of who you are, who you be, and how you want to show up in the world. Keep breathing. And take a moment to connect with that in the silence. And as you gently come back, take another deep breath. And bring that feeling back with you. And carry it with yourself all throughout the day. Open your eyes when you're ready.